ROUVY Unchained.
Hello and welcome to ROUVY Unchained. I'm your host, Zach Nehr, and today we are taking you inside one of Europe's top winter cycling destinations, Calpe, Spain. Joining me today is Georgia Bullard from Love Velo. Welcome to the show, Georgia. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here. Really exciting.
So, for those who have never been, how would you describe Calpe as a cycling destination?
I think Calpe now is what we could potentially call the mecca of European cycling. Everyone sort of is familiar with it now. It is a home to a lot of pro cyclists. It is a winter base for a lot of, amateurs and recreational cyclists. It's got a bit of everything. It's got something for everyone in terms of terrain, where to stay, where to ride. I think it's only going to get bigger from here as well. Yeah, it's, I would say, a key destination for cycling in Europe now.
And when would you say that kind of started? Is it recent? Is it just the last few years, or has it been really popular with cyclists for a longer time?
I think it's obviously grown a lot over sort of the last 10 years, I would say. I think it's been bubbling away for about that long. I mean, I first went out to Calpe gosh, I was quite young. It was about 2015, 2014, and it was quite a popular, busy place to go for cycling then. So I would say it's been around. Obviously, it's been around, but it's been popular for a while, and it's sort of just grown quite a traction and quite a community of cyclists in the area. And people go back. People go once, and they want to keep going back because it is a little bit addictive, I think, with just the atmosphere, especially if you go at certain times of the year. There's a real buzz around the town and on the roads that, like I say, is quite addictive.
That was definitely something I wanted to ask you about is the overall atmosphere and especially the weather too.
Mm.
How does that change at different times of year?
Generally, I'd say the weather's pretty good over there all year round. Obviously, in the summer months, it's scorching hot. It's Spain. It's the south of Spain. It's really, really hot. Um, it makes for an ideal winter base, sort of January, February, March, all the pros are there because the weather's good. Yes, you might get the odd rain shower, but in a couple of hours it's passed over. It's a good winter base because it's warm, but it's not scorching hot. So it's great temperatures to, get some decent miles in, escape England, Holland, the Netherlands, wherever, the rainy places people are coming from in Europe are. I would say, yeah, it is quite consistent over the winter months. And then from May, it gets really, really hot. I spent a lot of time over there. I lived just outside of the town for a year. And obviously the summer months, it's very, very hot, but ideal in the winter for sure.
When would you say would be the best month to go if someone had 1 month to pick out? Do you think December, January, kind of right in the middle of winter?
It depends on what sort of thing you're looking for. If you're after a quieter sort of less of a buzz of the town, quieter roads, a quieter town for cycling, I would say maybe March, April is optimal. If you're a recreational cyclist, maybe you're looking to go out with a group of friends, get a good weekend of cycling in or a week of exploring and road cycling. But if you're looking for a good training camp or a good, week or month, like you said, to get a good block in, January and February is perfect. It's like I said, it's littered full of cyclists. There's cyclists on every corner, on every road, but not too much so that it's like you can't move. It's just like a little buzz. It's like a cycling circus in the town and on the roads. It's wonderful.
And you said there's lots of pros there. Have you seen any really big name pros on the roads, or have you seen like full team training camps or team cars or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say it's probably one of the number one places that pro teams head out to now for all their winter camps. A lot of the hotels are actually designed and sort of have renovated to deal with tour buses and mechanic stations and all these pro teams. So I will be quite confident you'll see Matthew van der Poel out there in January, Remco, all the big names will be out there. I saw Remco on one of the famous climbs a couple of years ago whilst I was out there. You can absolutely expect to see some of your idols out there, especially sort of pre-season months. I'd be pretty confident you'll see some heroes for sure.
That's super cool. So you mentioned the hotels you said are kind
Mhm.
of geared towards the teams and their kind of equipment. Is there so yeah, can you tell us a little bit more about that? Is it geared towards cyclists or for the pro team specifically?
Yeah, for sure. So there's a number of big hotels in the centre of Calpe, sort of dotted all over. There's some right in the centre in the old town, and then some round toward the rock and out sort of on the coast road. They all know that cyclists are going to be coming to Calpe. They're very well adapted. So whether it's from car park facilities for tour buses and team buses and mechanic stations to bike storage, we see a lot of people, going out with their own bike. They want to leave it somewhere safe or a hire bike. And a lot of the hotels have like a garage or somewhere that they can store their bike so they're not having to take it up to their room, or they're bike friendly. You can take your bike up to your room, leave it in your room, whatever it is. The food as well, the half board, the breakfast, it's designed for people that are training and going to be hungry in the evenings and want to fuel up before a big ride. It's yeah, it's very well adapted for cyclists. Absolutely.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Did you say half board, like with the food?
Sorry.
I've never stayed at a hotel like that. What is that like?
So that would be like if you stayed, we offer packages a lot with Lovello where you could have a half board supplement. So that would include bed, breakfast, and your evening meal, all included in one package with the hotel. It makes for, it's convenient when you're on a training camp or you're on a cycling holiday because you get up and the breakfast there, you can fuel up before your big ride, come back, you might get some lunch out on the road, and then that evening you're going to be hungry, you're going to want some carbs. So it's ideal to head down to the hotel dinner and fuel up again there. You're not scrambling around the town to try and find a restaurant. Although Calpe is fantastic for that. There's plenty of lovely restaurants and cafes. Yeah, it just makes things a little more accessible and a bit easier for cyclists for sure.
What are those dinners like? Is it the classic cycling food like rice and pasta, or is it a little bit nicer than that?
It's a bit of everything. It depends on which hotel you stay in as well. Some of the higher end, your 4 or 5 star hotels, there's a bit of everything. You've got your rice, your pasta. They know that cyclists are going to be staying there, but then they might put on a couple of times a week a local, like a paella dish or other bits and bobs. There's quite a variety to choose from for sure. I would personally very much recommend it if you're going to stay. Then yeah, it makes for an easy life and try something new as well.
Yeah. Do you happen to have a favorite thing that you've had in Calpe before?
Um, I've spent a lot of time cycling over in Spain and sort of always, eating around. I love a bit of tapas personally, and there's quite a few nice little tapas restaurants in the old town to go to. That you know, there's lots and lots. They're all hidden on the back streets, and it's quite nice to go for a little evening stroll around the town. And you never know what you're going to stumble across, restaurant wise or cafe wise. It's yeah, it's good for a bit of exploring as well.
That's super cool. Is it something that how big is Calpe? I imagine it's not as big as like Barcelona or London, but it's also not like a small town. Is it somewhere in between?
I would say it's quite a lot smaller. It's not a huge town. You can probably walk from as an area, obviously it's big, but the actual town, I think you could probably, I don't know, walk from one side to the other in maybe an hour. Like it's not, maybe even less. It's not huge. It's quite condensed. but there's a lot going on in the center. It's certainly, it's not huge, but then it doesn't feel cramped and that you're, everything's on top of you. It does feel relaxing and spread out, although there's a lot in a small place. It doesn't feel like overwhelming and it's all built up. It still has like a nice sort of cultural coastal feel to it.
Yeah, is it something where what's the mix like between the old and the new? Are there any like new, really nice modern hotels versus like the old like Spanish architecture and like the old town and everything? Is there a mix of that or is it more one or the other?
Yeah, there's a bit of a mix. I would say it's certainly like been developed over the last years. There's a lot of new modern 4 or 5 star hotels that are really sort of quite luxurious actually. There's like a sky bar at one of the hotels that gives you a really nice view of Calpe and the rock. That's fantastic. But then there's still like I said, like the little tapas bars and restaurants in the old town. There's a famous Calpe steps, and they're painted red and yellow and Spanish flag colours, and they go all the way up. It's quite popular. People always go when they're on a cycling trip. They take their bike there and put it in front of the steps and take a picture of it to to show that they've been to Calpe. That's quite nice. So you have that sort of authentic feel with the nice luxury hotels and bike hire facilities, as well. There's quite a nice mix, I would say.
Are there any other landmarks like that? Like you mentioned the steps and you mentioned the rock. Are there other things like that around Calpe that you just got to go and see when you're there?
I would definitely say the steps and the rock. The rock's amazing to go and see. You might not want to, you can actually walk up it and walk to the top, which when you get to the top is spectacular. We always used to joke, it's a good way to ruin a rest day whilst you're out there because it's quite a hike all the way to the top. But if you're out for a fun cycling holiday and you're not training for anything specifically, or you might just want to do it, I would recommend it. It's great, and the views you get at the top are wonderful, but it's certainly a hike for sure, and there's a bit of scrambling at the top. But you have the rock, the staircase, and the beaches are beautiful. There's a really nice sort of promenade and beachfront, lots of restaurants and cafes. It's a lovely evening stroll to go and see. You've got the lake in the middle. um there's more to do than just go and ride your bike there, I would say.
Yeah, that was something that I definitely wanted to ask about is like when a cyclist would do a trip like this or a training camp, especially if it's longer, like maybe it's longer than a few days, maybe it's a week or 2 or 3 weeks. So you can't ride 6 hours a day. You would have to have some rest days in there, or recovery spin, or just like an hour on the bike and to the coffee shop or something. So yeah, what else outside of the cycling? I know you mentioned a lot right there, but is there anything else that stands out as something to do like on a rest day? You said the beaches.
Yeah,
How the beaches in Calpe?
the beaches are lovely, and the sea's generally always quite warm as well, so you can always go and have a little dip. I mean, I used to base myself out there for the winter months when I was racing, so I'd be out there for maybe 2 months at a time sometimes, and I managed to fill my time quite easily. You've got some nice little walks to do along the beach. You can go into the town. There's a couple of little shops, the restaurants, the cafes. It's quite well linked, so you can get a bus as well. You can get a bus into Alicante. Valencia is not too far as well to head to, if you wanted to really go out and explore. There's a beautiful little town called Moraira, which is about a 10K ride along the coast. And that's sort of the number one rest day ride that cyclists tend to do if they're basing themselves in Calpe. It's really nice, sort of get up, have a late morning, sort of head out, roll along the coast. It's beautiful. You're along the sea the whole way, and then you're in like a little port, like a bay area. Um, it's like a harbour, lots of restaurants and cafes. Have a coffee, spend a bit of time in the harbour, and then have a roll back along the coast. It's the perfect cycling rest day, I would say.
Yeah, you mentioned you've been to Calpe when you were racing versus
Mm.
now. So were you there for like serious training camps and now it's kind of more casual trips?
Yeah, I would say so. So I used to base myself out there for a couple of months, like I said, just because to escape the English weather, as I know a lot of Brits that live in the UK do when they're racing as well. But then it was also convenient because the teams I rode for, our training camps were always in Calpe. We'd always stay at a hotel in Calpe. So then I could, just spend a week or two with them and then go back to where I was staying to be based for the winter months. Yeah, it's just a great place to base yourself because, like I said, you've got everything you could need when you're racing. You've got a bit of flat if for efforts if you wanted to. You've obviously got plenty of climbs. You've got the weather. You've got the roads. The roads are generally quite safe, I would say, as well for cycling. I felt very safe over there. Drivers are very aware that there are a lot of cyclists around. Um, yeah, I think it's a great place to base yourself if you're racing or even just as a recreational holiday. I went out with a couple of friends last December for a long weekend and we just stayed. We did some nice long rides, went out for some nice dinners, and yeah, we had a really fun weekend, but very non-serious, no racing, no training. It was just nice rides. So yeah, definitely two different sides to look at it.
So where do the pro cyclists ride in Calpe, and is that different from the more recreational cyclists that go there? Maybe someone's going out for like a 3 hour easy ride versus the pros want to do 5, 6 hours with intervals. Are there vastly different routes or roads that you can do over there?
Yeah, I would say so. There's plenty to do. I think you never run out of sort of new places to explore. You have like a lot of different back roads as well that run parallel to the main roads that you can always go down to switch things up. I would say there is a lot of overlap. So you have all the big climbs in Calpe, and everyone wants to check them off. But I would say that's what the pros are doing day in, day out. Obviously, switching it up, you can't ride the same climb every day, but you have some big famous climbs. So you have the Col de Rats, which is infamous in Calpe for, you know, Jonas Vingegaard became pro by setting the com up there. It is a well-known climb to do. Everyone wants to do it. You've got the Col de Rats, you've got the Val de Ebo, which is a really nice, slightly longer climb. You can drop down there and it takes you well out into the valley roads. That's a really long sort of, you can make that 4 or 5 hour ride that the pros might do on a long day, but equally if you're up for a big day in the saddle, you can do. There's also the Cumbra de Sol, which the Velta went up a couple of years ago, which is if you're looking for a hard couple of minutes, that's your one. It's really, really steep for a short amount of time and it sort of spirals up and up. And then when you get to the top, it's just a flat sort of rock at the top and then you have to descend back down, but it's super steep, really hard, but worth it because the views at the top are incredible. And you know, pros might use that for intervals, but equally it's a fabulous ride anyway if you're just looking for a bit of a challenge and some nice views. I'd say yeah, there's a lot of crossover in the routes. With Love Velo you get a route pack from us when you book one of our packages. And there's about 10, 15 different routes in there for you to choose from and explore. And obviously all of us are cyclists in at Lavello. We know what the routes offer. A lot of us have been out there and we can sort of give you some advice on, somebody might ring up and say, I want to do this, I'm not sure about this. And we've all been there, we can advise. So yeah, there's plenty of good routes and something for everyone to do.
So with Love Velo, can you explain exactly how that works if someone were to look at booking a trip through that? You said there's a lot of different route options, and then how big would like the group be? Would it be just a couple of riders or closer to 10 or 15 riders in one group? How does that work exactly?
So in Calpe, we offer self-guided trips. So you're essentially guiding yourself. You're not going out with a group. So let's say there's four of you, four friends. You want to go out for 4 days of cycling in Calpe. So we look after all of the ground elements of your trip. So we will put together your airport transfer, your accommodation, bike hire, we have some fantastic bike hire partners over in Calpe. You know, some really high end, really nice high spec bikes. So if you're quite precious and you like a nice bike, or you know, maybe your bike at home's not that good and you fancy treating yourself for a weekend of riding something super luxurious, we've got options for that. And then yeah, your route pack's also included, so you get that well in advance before you go away, so you've got plenty of time to have a look through, and you might all sit down and think, oh, we're going to do this on this day, we're going to do this route on another day. And then quite often people ring us up and they think, oh, we're not quite sure about this road, like how hard is this going to be, are we going to have time, like should we go, which cafe should we go to on the way back? We all know it very well, so we can offer sort of our own expertise as well, if you like, on the routes. And that's not just for Calpe, that's for all of our destinations as well. So yeah, it's self-guided, but you've got that pack, you know where you're going. It's a GPX file, and we're here to essentially guide you from a distance.
So how exactly do the flights typically work for someone that's flying in? I assume they wouldn't fly directly into Calpe. It sounds like it's a pretty small town. So where would someone probably fly in and then I assume there's a transfer maybe?
Yeah, so you can fly into Alicante really easily. There's lots and lots of flights, especially from London, but all over Europe. I think that's what makes it so popular. It's a really short flight from Europe, but even like farther afield as well. You know, you can catch a connecting flight from Milan or Barcelona into Alicante really easily, and then it's about a 45-minute drive along the coast from the airport to Calpe, and it's quite a nice drive. Sort of as you get closer, it becomes more coastal, and you get some really nice views. And you all, as you're approaching Calpe, I always used to love this. I sort of knew I was coming back as you're getting closer to Calpe. You can see the rock in the distance, and you sort of get closer to it and closer to it, and think, oh, you're nearly there. So it's quite a nice transfer actually, as airport transfers go. It's certainly not the worst, and there's plenty of options when you get there. There's lots of companies that do sort of a transfer with a bike box, so they've got trailers, you can put your bike box in. There's a lot of people flying with a bike, private transfers. It's really well connected and really easy to sort of get into and out of.
I was going to ask about those options because, yeah, for me, coming from America and being in America, it's just nothing's walkable. So pretty much anytime you fly somewhere, you have to get a friend or family member to pick you up at the airport, or you just rent a car. So can you explain a little bit more about those options? Are there like airport taxis, or you said you can have one with a transfer with a bike box? Because that's, I mean, you could put that like in an American taxi here. So how exactly does that work, and what are those options like?
So either if you're doing it yourself, or we have partners that we work with, and that's always included in a package with Love Velo. So we have a number of options. So there's a shared shuttle you can jump on. It's really affordable, generally quite quick as well. You're not waiting too long. And that's with other people. It's like a bus, but you know, you're booked onto it. You know what, like they know what time your flight's going to land. That's the shared shuttle, and they always have a trailer on the back of the bus or the minivan or the car or whatever it is. For a bike box, you have to tell them in advance, but really quick to book, really easy, affordable. I'd say that's probably the most popular option that people go for when they're booking with us. That's what I always used to do, to be honest. Really quick out of the airport, with your bike box, or we can book you on a private transfer, which is generally a bit quicker. You're not waiting around too long at the airport, and it's direct. Whereas a shared shuttle, you might stop at a couple of hotels on the way, but a private one, you're straight to the hotel, and again with your bike box as well, or not. But there's so many options. It's so easy, so convenient. Yeah, there's definitely no need to be sort of thinking well in advance of how am I going to get there, who am I going to ring. We sort it for you, or it's super easy. It's super easy to do.
One of the biggest stressors that I have with traveling, but especially flying with a bike, is building it when I get there, because a lot of times all the tools I have at home, I can't bring them all on a plane or anything
Yeah.
like that. So I can maybe have like a multi-tool or something small like that. So is there anything like at the hotels or anything that you would have to pre-plan ahead of time where either you could get help with that to have someone have like a professional mechanic build it up or just have someone with the tools that you needed to build up your bike when you got there?
I would say a lot of the hotels in Calpe that they know that cyclists are going to be coming, and a lot of them do have a lot of them will have bike tools and a bike pump and like a separate area, like where you can store your bikes. 9 times out of 10, they'll also have Allen keys and tools and a pump, for you to build your bike up with when you get there. The bike shops in the area are really friendly as well. A couple of times I've had a couple of mechanical disasters and sort of wandered in or my chain snapped or whatever it might be, and they're always really happy to help and really friendly, really accessible. But if you don't want to, you don't want to fly with your bike, I would say hiring is a great option. Like I said, we have some fantastic bike hire facilities over there and people that we work really closely with, and they're really close to all the hotels. It's like a 3, 4, 5 minute walk from the hotel to go and fetch your bike, and it's there, it's waiting for you. Your size is reserved. That's how we operate. We pre-reserve the right size bike for you and your pedal preferences. So you walk in, you say your name, and your bike's waiting there, and you take it away. It's a 15-minute job, and then you're straight out on the bike. You haven't got to build it and put it all together. That's now my preference to do. I will always sort of opt for hiring because, yeah, it's just so much easier. You're not traveling with your bike box, and the bikes there are always pretty nice as well. You're going to be riding something nice for the week. So, yeah, that would be my preference.
That sounds super nice. Yeah. When it comes to mid-ride needs, whether it's a mechanical thing or if you run out of water or you need a snack. I mean, again, for me being in America, it's very, very different options, especially depending on where you are. Like maybe you'll find a gas station that'll probably have everything, but you're never really going to find like a water fountain on the side of the road or like a bike shop. Like there's 10, 20, 30 miles in between them. So how is it around Calpe with all that?
I would say it's pretty good along the routes, and generally in Spain, I think that I don't know it's the country, but there's always seems to be sort of, especially in the smaller towns, there's always a water fountain with drinking water that you can go to, which makes things so much easier. You've not got to go and find a petrol station to go and buy a bottle of water with. There's fresh water, maybe I don't know, in every little town there'll always be a freshwater pump that you can go to and fill your bottles up, which is great. Like when I was out there training, I had in my head like I knew where some of like the water stations were and things. But generally, there's always. I would say you're never too far away. If you have a disaster, you're never too far away from a local town or a cafe or a restaurant or bike shop. And the nice thing is, I know, like, if you go in the peak season months for cycling, there's always going to be cyclists on the road, and everyone's pretty friendly. Everyone, I like to think that the cycling community is quite a tight knit, friendly bunch. So, if you're stood by the road and you've had a disaster, it's only a matter of minutes before another cyclist is going to pass you, I would say. But there's some fantastic places to stop as well, like real, like cycling friendly, cycling specific cafes just outside of Calpe that are great to incorporate into a ride. So there's a cafe called Blanca Bikes, sorry, at the bottom of Calderats. They do bike hire. They do, they're a fantastic cafe. They're a hub. They're like right in the community of cycling in Calpe. They're a wonderful sort of partner that we have and people that we work with. And they have a mechanic station as well there. There's a cafe just around the corner from that in a town called Parcent, called Musette, ran by an English couple. It is wonderful. Again, real community, famous for having people like Tadej Pogacar, Matthew Van der Poel, stopping mid-ride for a coffee in there as well. They'll always help you. They stock things like inner tubes and gels if you need. And there's quite a lot of that around the area, which just, I think, reinforces its sort of cycling friendly nature and how I think cycling has taken over Calpe. for sure in that respect. So yeah, you're never too far away from help or a gel or a pump or something, I would say.
During the peak season, is there anywhere or any climbs or roads that almost get a little bit too busy because it is so popular? Is it during the peak season? Do you have to try to find either some new roads or is there like a secret one that you keep when it's really, really busy?
I would say so. The Calder Rats is a really popular climb. It's great for intervals. It's a fabulous climb to ride anyway. You know, the views are amazing. Um, it's not too long, it's not too steep. It's a great climb to do. It gets really popular on a Saturday morning and a Sunday morning with the locals. There's lots of sort of people going up on bikes and motorbikes for sure. A bit steadier pace. They want to see the view as well. But I would say it's a little bit more of a known thing. You know, it's always going to be busier on a Saturday morning. So if you want to do the Calder Rats on a Saturday, go earlier or a little bit later, for sure. But generally, or the roads are busy, but I would say not to the point where they're unrideable. I would never say that. They're yeah, you're always going to be able to ride for sure.
So there's so many great climbs around there, but if there's a rider who maybe more of a kind of just recreational rider, they're looking for an easy loop, can they
Mhm.
find some flat or just rolling terrain around Calpe without any major climbs?
Yeah, absolutely. There's always it is Spain. It's not Holland or some parts of England. It's not pan flat. You are always going to encounter some level of incline. I would say from Calpe, if you're looking for a slightly flatter route, there's a really nice sort of way round. You can go out along the coast to Moraira, and then it brings you sort of over a big natural park. Which is a shortish climb. It's maybe, I don't know. It is about 6-7 kilometers in length, but it's not too steep. It's quite gradual, very pretty, great views. But that's sort of the main climb of the day. And then you drop down into a town called Denia, really nice coastal town, really nice port there. And then you're essentially on flat roads for the rest of the route. You come round and then you sort of drop round by the bottom of Calder Rats. You can skip Calder Rats and then head back into Calpe. There's a small drag back into Calpe, but but nothing too severe. Obviously, yes, like I said, there are inclines. It's not pan flat, but there is certainly a couple of other similar sort of flatter routes to do if you didn't want to be sort of up and down all day.
Yeah, what would you say would be someone who is best suited for Calpe as a destination versus something like Girona or Tenerife, something that's kind of comparable, like warm weather of the winter and nice roads and long climbs. What would you say is different about Calpe?
I would say Calpe is just like I said, you have got the flat roads, you have got the option. It's not quite as intense, I would say. Somewhere like Tenerife, you are just up or down all day. It's always hot. It's always really windy. It's fantastic in its own way. It is an absolute gem of a place to ride. But yeah, it is always up or is always down. It's a fabulous place to go and train, or holiday as a recreational cyclist. Um, but I would say, yeah, Calpe, you can do shorter routes and loops. You don't have to do like an out and back the same way. You can do a really short loop, especially on some flatter roads. I'd say if you're looking for maybe, yeah, a bit more of a less intense week, Calpe is perhaps a good option as well.
When someone's booking a trip to Calpe, especially as it's just exploded in popularity, how far out do you think you need to book something like that? Is it just a couple months in advance, or is it even a little bit further, especially during peak season?
Yeah, I would say just with something we found as well, just with the rise in popularity of the destination and sort of all the other popular cycling destinations, the earlier you book, generally the better. You get a better choice of hotels and rooms, and generally a better deal and rate the longer you leave it. The price tends to hike up a little bit, but I'd say the earlier you can book, the better. Essentially, you get a better choice of hotel and bike hire as well. Bike hires a little bit more readily available like the further out that you book. So yeah, definitely if it's sort of something you're keen to do and you're thinking of, get it in as soon as you can.
I thought of one of these in my mind. They're maybe like a boring logistical question, but like to me during a
No?
trip, they're like very, very important. So
Yep.
for someone who's maybe going for a week and they book the package that has like dinner included, where would you recommend they go like to buy groceries, like for breakfast, lunch, and then like ride food too? Because especially, I mean, if you're going training 3, 4, 5 hours a day, you're going to need a lot of
Mhm.
food during the day. So yeah, where do you go for like groceries? Because I'm used to the US where we have like these huge, massive grocery stores, and I imagine they don't have those there.
Yeah, well, they do actually, in the centre of
Oh,
Calpe and even on the outskirts. I would say wherever you stay, you're never more than a 10-minute walk from a supermarket. Worst case scenario, and they have everything you need. They're not just like little convenience stores. They are supermarkets. Fresh fruit and vegetables, ride food, everything you need within walking distance of a couple of minutes. The only thing I would say, it is Spain. They do close on a Sunday, and that is something to bear in mind before you go away. I've been stung out a little bit and a couple of times, sort of on a Sunday morning. Thought I'd go down to the shop and it's closed. But that's just the Spanish way. So something to note before you go out there. But yeah, they're all over. Really easy to get to. Um, Certainly not something to worry about.
is there anything else like that with the closing on Sunday? Or I've heard sometimes shops might close like mid-afternoon, something like that. Is there anything else that is unique to Calpe or unique to Spain that someone should know before they go?
Yeah, I would say is more of a Spanish thing rather than a Calpe thing. Supermarkets obviously closing on a Sunday. A lot of places will sort of close as well between 2 and 4 or 2 and 5 for an afternoon siesta. That's more prevalent, I would say, in the summer months, just it is because of the heat primarily, but in the winter as well, a lot of shops and sort of maybe even bike shops and some cafes might close for a few hours in the afternoon, but then reopen later on. So that's something to bear in mind. If you're hiring a bike, it's worth checking the opening hours before you go, because a lot of them sort of are open from like 9 till 1 or 2, and then they shut for a few hours, and then they're open into the evening as well from about 5 till 7, 8. So there's always a window for you to go, but you just want to double check that you're not going when it's closed.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have a favorite restaurant or coffee shop in Calpe?
Ooh, I've got a number of different ones. My favourites probably, and it became a little bit of a hub for everyone when we were out there training. We'd all meet up sort of maybe in the afternoon or on a rest day. It's a cafe called Siamos in the old town. You'll always find plenty of cyclists there. They've got bike racks out the front. It's not a cycling cafe, but they have great lunches, some great cakes and coffee. It's a really nice sort of little, like, I don't know, it's quite tucked away. It's a little hidden place to go in the afternoon. Yeah, I quite enjoyed it. It's really nice. I have a little mug from there still on my bedside table, which always reminds me of it.
That's so cool. I feel like those are usually the best places, the ones that are a little off the beaten path and a little lesser known. They're never the
Yeah.
most popular with yeah,
No, it used to, well, I say it used to be quite sort of an unknown place, but then sort of the word got out and now it's huge and everyone goes there. But I would say it's a must go if you're staying in the area.
that is great. A quick note to our listeners, Calpe is actually one of the locations that you can ride on ROUVY. It's part of the winter training camp spotlight, and that will continue all the way through February. Calpe is one of 3 featured locations, and as you listen to each episode of this podcast, we'll talk about those locations, and you can think about what might be the best fit for you. We mentioned Tenerife and Girona. Sounds like Tenerife is definitely more of a training camp destination, whereas Calpe is a little more relaxed. There's like the beach and the rock and all that, all these different things to do. So I have one last question for you, Georgia.
Yes.
If a cyclist was visiting Calpe for just one day, let's
Yeah.
say they're a rider with above average fitness who likes to climb,
Mhm.
what is the one route that you would recommend for them?
Ooh, it's tricky. It's really hard because there's so many, like, iconic, really nice routes to do, but if you're going to Calpe, you've gotta do either, I would say, the Col de Rats, the Val d'Ebo, or Cumbre del Sol. Colrats would probably be up there because you can visit one of the nice 2 cafes, either Blanca Bikes or Musette Cafe at the bottom, which is a must. Yeah, it's a must do, um, if you're in the area, but I would say going out of Calpe, you can go out, to Parcent, up Calderats, stop at the top of Calderats, see, take in the view, it's lovely, and then you drop down a climb called Tarbena, and you can actually ride up that as well. It's a lovely climb. It's a little bit longer than Calderats, but that's a really nice, slightly longer, draggier climb. You come down that into a town called Colossa, and then it's a really nice sort of rolling road all the way back into Altea, which is also a great place to sort of roll to on a rest day, maybe, or stop for a coffee. And then you just pop along the coast. You are on the main road for a little bit from Altea, but there's plenty of cyclists there, and the cars are always aware of riders. Pop along the coast, and then you drop down back into Calpe. That would probably be that's a Calpe staple. I would say that's an essential route in your pack if you're heading out there.
That is great. I have to get out there one day. This is making
You
me so
should.
excited to go and visit and do all the climbs and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. You should for sure get in touch with Love Velo. We'll give you a route
Definitely, I
back.
definitely will.
Excellent.
So, where can people follow along and learn more about Lavello?
So we have our website where we have blogs and a booking platform. You can make an inquiry as well with us through the website. You just pop in your email address and we'll be in touch. And then we can have a chat through with one of our specialists here. Where you might like to head out to. We can sort of design a trip for you, put a bespoke trip together. But I would say the best thing to do, give us a call and have a chat because yeah, there's people always have hundreds of questions before they go away. I know I would. I want to know if I'm going somewhere new. I want to know every inch of it before I go, and want to so I don't essentially make sure I don't miss anything. So yeah, get on the website, booking platform, and give us a call.
That is great. Thank you so much.
No
And
problem. Nice, excellent.
yeah, thanks again for joining us. And that's all from this episode of ROUVY Unchained. Thank you for listening, and thank you again to Georgia for joining us.
Thanks for having me.